Hi, my name's Lorena Sadie, and I am a bankruptcy attorney here in Georgia. I wanted to do a video today on high income folks and trying to squeeze yourself into a Chapter 7, what you need to expect, and how you can handle it. So first of all, there's lots of different flavors of bankruptcy. The two that really apply to folks like you and me is either Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. Now, when people have a lot of debt, they're like, oh, I want to do Chapter 7, I want to do Chapter 7, because you're just getting rid of the debt, you're not repaying anything, which that's great. But sometimes people make too much money or they have too much in assets. So I wanted to address, I've already got a video on if you have too much in assets, what happens to your assets in Chapter 7. They go bye-bye, they get sold. So got another video on that, so you can click on the link and review that. But today, this video is specifically about people who make a lot of money and they're trying to file Chapter 7. So I will have folks that sign up for a consultation, and when I run their numbers, they're not making it. They make too much money and they're not passing the means test, and this and that. Now, some folks will be, they're like, all of a sudden they'll be, oh, well, I've got this expense, or I'm helping this family member out and this or that. Now, those are allowable expenses, but this is what you need to understand when you are going in to a Chapter 7 and you're a high income earner. The folks at the United States Trustee's Office, they review cases. Now, they can do random audits. I've had them randomly audit a case of a little old lady, literally a little old lady with nothing, and poor woman had to just like bank statements, this and that, whatever. That, I mean, it was random, but it happens. But mostly these days, especially if you have to go through the means test. So if you make so much money that you don't initially qualify, that you have to go through the means test, you better get ready to have all your stuff, bank statements, proof of expenses, pay stubs. They're going to put you through the ringer. Okay, so understand that. So if you're a high income person, just know that they're going to get you. They're going to do an audit. They can schedule you for a deposition. They are going to ask you for all your statements. And by the way, to tell them, oh, well, that got closed in the bankruptcy. Yeah, they don't care. You'll need to actually then subpoena your companies to get those documents. And then that's more money. So you can end up paying more in legal fees because your Chapter 7 went off the rails for all of, for depositions, subpoenas, all of this, than if you had just, maybe done a Chapter 13 and done some kind of a repayment plan. And bankruptcy can be stressful enough. Getting audits by the United States government, not fun. And there are some folks that they're like, nope, I got everything. I take care of my mom. Here's all her stuff. Here's all this. But I will tell you, I mean, I've been doing this, 22 years. So I am a dinosaur, and I've done lots of depositions. And I get emails once a week from the United States Trustee that they want additional documents, whatnot. That's fine. But you need to prep, as an attorney, you need to prepare your clients for that, and not think it's all going to be, oh, I'm just going to file it. And even though I really probably make too much money, they're not going to notice. Oh, they're going to notice. They're going to flag it. And if they don't, for some reason, flag it, your normal trustee, your Chapter 7 trustee, they're required to flag things. So one way or another, you're going to be doing a major document dump. And I will tell you, as a bankruptcy attorney, I am not a CPA. I am not an accountant. So you're not going to just dump a bunch of receipts on me and tell me, oh, I need you to prepare a report. No, it's not what I do. No, that's not what I do. I'm a bankruptcy attorney. I take the data when it's finalized, and I'm like, okay, this is what we can do with it. So now you're probably looking at, whoever does your books, going to them and saying, oh, I need you to go through all of this and all of that. That's their job. That's not my job. I would not want, no offense to accountants or CPAs. I know enough to be dangerous, but I am a lawyer, a bankruptcy lawyer for a reason, not an accountant or a CPA. So just know that. So don't get shocked when, you make a lot of money and you're trying not to pay anybody back. Yeah, you're going to get pushback. So if I personally, if I do a consult and I see that my client that we're having to go through the means test, and we're bending over backwards trying to find this and that, first thing I tell them is you're probably going to get an audit. And, and if you get an audit, there's additional cost because now there's more work for everybody. So you need to be aware of that. And it just is what it is. So bankruptcy is here for a reason. And if you have, there are circumstances, I'll give you an example. I've had a couple of folks that unfortunately have to care for adult family members who have mental illness, which that's a huge problem today in the world. And my hat's off to them because that's not easy. Especially, you're dealing with an adult that may not be legally insane, but they have mental health issues, and this person has to help them, pay for, maybe for their apartment or their medical care, things like that. So there's lots of different circumstances where you may be making money, but now something is sucking it out that's legit. And hey, I will go to the mat. I do go to the mat for my clients with those situations. And that I think that's totally legit, but just understand that there's going to be a process where you're going to have to prove things. So, if you're somebody that you're making a lot of money, don't just think that, I can just file Chapter 7 because I don't really have any assets. If you make a lot of money, and you have to go through the means test, you're probably going to get an audit. At least here in the Northern District of Georgia, they are ramping them up. So it's just something that I think you need to be aware of. I always tell my clients, my job, I'm not an online website that's trying to hustle folks to like, oh, you can do this, you can do that. No, my job is to tell you realistically what you can do here in the Northern District of Georgia when you file bankruptcy. That's my job. I'm not trying to convince you of one thing or another. I need to tell you what your options are. And as attorneys, our job is to tell you the facts and the options. It's not to try to, I know there's some attorneys out there that they don't know how to do a Chapter 13. But they'll just throw in that they do Chapter 7s. I guess they want to make extra money because Chapter 7s are not as complex as a Chapter 13. But then they push people into Chapter 7s that shouldn't be in a Chapter 7, and all hell, breaks loose. And then the person is like, oh my God. So, my job, at least, is to be honest with clients, tell clients, these are your options. And of course, my goal is to obviously help you get out of debt, rehabilitate, pay back the least amount of money possible. That's my job. And I will do that. My team will do that within the framework of the law. But, your attorney needs to be honest with you and tell you that these are the things that's going to happen, or pushbacks that can happen. And then you have to make that decision. You could be a gambler and say, well, all right, let me roll the dice and see what happens. Okay. Your choice. Or you could be someone that's like, oh my God, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown if I have to do a deposition. May not want to do that. So, every case is different, and I can't say that enough, because I always have I'll do consults and people are like, oh, my friend, well, in my friend's case, my friend, this person I know, that's nice. That has nothing to do with you. You are totally different. Every case in bankruptcy is completely different. And it's so many factors. So, I will get sometimes the phone call of the person that didn't listen. They filed somewhere else. All hell broke loose, and now they're totally freaking out. Their home's going to get sold, or they have a deposition and they fired the other attorney, and they're like, oh, can you step in and clean it up? Most of the time I'm going to say no. I'm like, no. I tried to tell you, and honestly, like that ship has sailed. So I would strongly suggest, if I don't know where if you're watching this video, I don't know what state you're in or whatnot, but make sure, go with an attorney that has experience. And yes, definitely read reviews, read how attorneys respond to reviews. And there's of course some red flags when you start to see like hundreds or like thousands of reviews. That's I think you need to be careful with that. But attorneys we can't guarantee results. All we can do is say, based on the information that you're providing us, this is how your case should play out, and you should get your discharge. So personally, like, I have filed thousands and thousands of cases here in Georgia, and I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes, and especially when you're a younger attorney, sometimes you're like, oh, didn't know that that's how that trustee was going to respond. I didn't know that it was going to put my client through all of that. So nobody is perfect, but I think with experience, you can guide your clients and say, okay, here's what's going to happen, and do you want to go down that path? So just understand, if you make a lot of money and you need help, because even people who make a lot of money can get into trouble, and they need bankruptcy. You've got a lot of different options. So don't put in your head, I have to do this, I have to do that. No. Have a consult with an experienced bankruptcy attorney, and then decide how you want to proceed. If you have any questions about bankruptcy, at least here in Georgia, I am happy to answer questions. All of our consults by the way, are always confidential, and they're free. So take advantage of that. If you're having issues, at least here in Georgia, and you want to, review options, I'm always happy to do so.